Hello and welcome to Janette's TV. I'm your host, Janette Burke. And today we're going to be talking about shifting our reality. And you know, this is really a hot topic right now because many of us are dealing with this in and amidst 5 months or more of COVID, with the uncertainty of how much COVID is going to continue to be a part of our lives. I mean, we really don't know. It's not known whether or not there'll be a second wave, whether or not we're going to be wearing masks all the way to November or beyond. We really don't have the answers because we don't have a vaccine yet. So, and we don't know how bad the second wave is going to be, or even if we're going to get it. So for most of us, that means we have to really take a look at our perspectives and what's going on in our lives and see how we're going to shift and adapt. That's why I'm very happy to welcome to my show, reality shifting specialist, Shiraz Baboo. Hello, and welcome to Janette's TV, Shiraz.
Hi, thank you for having me on.
Now, what I really like about Shiraz is that he has a very unique story that, you know, happened before COVID, but honestly could be applied to people who are living in the COVID situation. And he literally went from pain to purpose. And I want him to tell you his story because he has an incredible story that led him to being the reality shifter he is today. So Shiraz, could you please share with my audience your story of how you got to this place and what led you to want to be not just a coach, a reality shifting specialist?
Sure. And first of all, I think maybe you should be telling my story because I've been telling my story hundreds and hundreds of times and I've never used the expression pain to purpose, and it's just so perfect. So, but let's get on with what that pain was.
Yeah, well, I'm going to help you tell your story during the course of the interview, but I wanted you to start it out, you know,
Okay.
or let me throw this at you, okay? Take us back. You're 22 years old.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you're literally bedridden with arthritic pain.
Yes.
That totally changed your life. I mean, not just a little bit, right? I mean, you were in medical school. You were on a path to become a healer. And one might argue you are doing that, but in a different way today. But anyway, you're in medical school. You're on a certain path, and everything comes to a halt because of this horrific pain you're in.
Yes.
And I want you to take it from there and tell us what happened.
Yeah. And my life was going really well up until that moment. And the next thing I know, it's 2 decades of rheumatoid arthritis, sometimes weeks in bed in pain. There were days where I literally had to crawl to the bathroom because I was in so much pain and so much constriction in my joints. And it would go into remission sometimes and I could do things and then it would just slam back in. And after almost 2 decades, I just had it. And I said to my dad, listen, there's got to be something that we can do for this because anything I've been doing up till now just doesn't work. And he said, there's a program called Combined Therapy, and they've had successes with multiple illnesses. And I thought that was unusual because I've heard like special cancer things, special arthritis, but multiple illnesses. And he says, why don't you go try it out? And I said, okay, where is it? It's in India. So next thing I know, I'm on a plane to India. And I went into this program. And because it was in India and my dad was very spiritual, I thought it was going to be some energy healer type guy, was laying on of hands on me or something. But all I did was talk to this guy for 2 weeks and go through my entire life history for 2 weeks, just talking and talking. And eventually he says, okay, here's the problem. When you were a small child, like 8 years old, your mom got sick and you felt you needed to take care of her. And, you know, there's only so much an 8-year-old boy can do to take care of his mom, but you felt you had to be responsible for your mom.
And then hold on, you were the oldest, right?
I was the middle, actually.
Oh, the middle. It's interesting that you had this kind of feeling that you had to take care of your mom, not the other kids.
It just,
You have
that's just the
siblings.
thing that came on. But then, my mom couldn't take care of my brother and my sister, so I had to be responsible for them too. And then I added my dad, and then my cousins, and then my best friends. And eventually I created this belief that I was responsible for everyone in my life. And I thought, okay, I'm not responsible for everyone. And he goes, no, not consciously, but at a subconscious level, you feel you're responsible for everyone in your life. And I went, okay, let's just say that's true. Even I know I'm responsible, I don't think I'm that responsible. What does it have to do with arthritis? And he said, well, you don't want to be responsible for everyone. I went, yeah, of course not. He goes, so when you're lying in bed in pain, you don't have to be responsible. You have the perfect excuse to not be responsible for people. It's the solution to the problem you don't even know you have. And I was just blown away. I'm like, what? and so and then I thought about it. He goes, so, well, then if I just decide I'm not going to be responsible for anyone but me, the arthritis should go away. He goes, yeah, if you actually mean it, if you actually make that decision, I'm not going to be responsible for anyone but me, your arthritis will go away. And I said, okay, that's what I'm doing. And I went to bed that night, woke up the next morning, no pain, no inflammation. My mobility was better. And I was just like, what the hell just happened?
And no
But
meds.
no meds, no meds.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that one belief that was creating that entire reality for me. And I didn't know it.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
that's,
you hop back on a plane to Canada
yes.
and your life changes. Tell us how your life changed, knowing this subconscious belief was driving you and actually, being responsible for the pain in your body.
So the interesting thing is that now that I was in that state, I was just so happy about it, being able to live a normal life. I went back to living normal life for a little while, and it wasn't until almost 4 years later that I thought I should look into this some more. And I started. I watched The Secret. I studied under Bob Proctor, Joe Vitale, and I was looking for all these ways to recreate that, because I did it with that one thing. But as I started learning, I said, this isn't just about illness. This is about your financial situation. This is about your relationships. This is about every part of your life. And what was funny is I actually enrolled in both Bob Proctor's coaching program and Joe Vitale's coaching programs. And my goal was, okay, I've been doing a 6-figure salary all my life. That's just how I grew up. My friends and I always talked about 6-figure salary, and I immediately got to there. And then I just leveled off because that was the goal. But what if I want to go to a 7-figure salary? Why don't I try that? And so I'm in these coaching programs, and I went to a 0-figure salary. And it
So you
blew
were
my mind.
essentially broke on the verge of bankruptcy
Yes. I was
from being
$80,000.
a six-figure income earner,
Yep.
because you had this thing in your head from childhood that once you hit 6 figures, you made it, you were safe, whatever. That was your mindset. And that
Yep.
was actually prohibiting you from going beyond that.
Yeah. And what's also interesting is, for me, 6 figures meant around $100,000, just over $100,000. But 6 figures technically goes all the way up to $999,000. But I was just in that 100. That was it to me. So that was the belief I had. That was the story. And so that's what kept showing up in my life. And when I tried to change that in a big way, it all just came apart. And it wasn't the coaching programs, because the coaching programs were supposed to help me get out of it. There was something else going on. And I watched other people in the coaching programs all have successes. So I'm like, okay, it's not them, it's me. And it was because there were other beliefs, just like I have to be responsible. There were other beliefs in me that I hadn't discovered yet that were locking me in at the 6 figures.
Mm-hmm. Now, what do you have to say? Because, some people are going to listen to this and say, yes, I understand this sort of mindset cap that you can burst through. And other people are going to listen to this and say, I'm not buying it. So what do you have to say to people who, might consider you, for lack of a better term, a shyster, or that your arthritis was actually hereditary because your mother suffered from that too? And in fact, you shared with me that both your brother and sister had it as well. What do you say to that? And how do you kind of overcome it?
So with arthritis, there is a genetic component to arthritis. But if you've looked at epigenetics, which is a recent development of genetics, they found that the mood and the mindset of a person can turn off and on genes. So I basically, in that moment when I changed that belief, turned off the gene. So even though things can be hereditary, it doesn't mean you have to suffer from them. You could have a history of cancer in your family and not get cancer, right? That's how it's been shown to work. And this is a way to access that. The other thing is, there was a definite story in that. And when I work with people, I talk about all the different stories that are running in their lives, the repeated patterns. And my mom got arthritis at 22. I got arthritis at 22. My sister got arthritis. We bought the exact story, the exact age at which we were supposed to get the arthritis. But the cool thing was, my brother got arthritis. He bought the same story, but he got a completely different strain of arthritis. Completely
really? That's
unrelated
interesting.
to the genetic thing. But he had the thing, my whole family has arthritis, therefore I should get it. And then he ended up with it.
Okay, that's an interesting point. Now, you do, tell us a little bit about how your actual programs work. And then I'm going to go a bit deeper into that. First, tell us exactly how they work and exactly what your offerings are.
Okay.
And then I'll go into a little bit of a story that I want you to tell about how you specifically helped someone who was really, really stuck.
Okay. So with me, what happens is we start off with a breakthrough session. So in half an hour, you tell me about one of the big things that's just got you stuck in your life. And when I talk to you, I can tell when your conscious beliefs match your subconscious beliefs. So I know whenever you're lying. And I don't care if you're lying to me, I care if you're lying to you. So it's just like when the guy said—
And how are you able to tell that? From your training?
From my training, yeah. And I teach people how to do this as well. So everyone can do it. And it's actually interesting because people that have been with me for a while, I'll ask them a question and they'll say, yeah. And then, oh no, that was actually a no, I felt it. You could actually learn to feel this in yourself and find out when you're lying to yourself.
So you can feel like an energy shift?
It's an energy shift or a feeling. For me, it feels like a drop or a lightning. Like if someone says we're going out and then they say you're going out to the restaurant you hate the most, you just go, ugh. I feel that when people are talking. And then, if it's your favorite restaurant, you go, oh yeah, that's what I get. And
so I guess that there's no room to fake it till you make it then with this type of thing.
Yeah, and my friends get that. They'll say something and then they'll look at me and go, was that true? Yeah, that was true. Okay, good. Let's continue.
Okay, so you have the breakthrough session. That's sort of like the intake, the first step.
Yep.
And then what happens?
We shift that belief. And then you go into my monthly magic program. And the reason this
monthly magic, that sounds good. Everybody needs a little magic once in a while.
It's showing you how to create magic on a monthly basis.
Okay.
And
so what does that look like?
There's a group coaching, a couple group coaching calls every month. And there's emails that go out every month is themed. So we've had success month, we've had relationship month, we've had self-esteem month, business month. And so you're getting emails every week to help you with common beliefs that are coming up for people so they can shift to you. You're getting shifted in the coaching calls. There are also monthly events that you have the option to attend. And so you're getting hit over and over again. Because the thing I've found is even if you shift someone's reality to something that's spectacular, they're so used to the old reality that they try to get back to it, even if it sucked, because they were addicted to it. You actually get addicted to this horrible reality.
Right. And when we were talking in prepping you for this interview, and I was doing intake information on you, you even said that in order for your mentoring and your coaching to really work, the person has to be willing to let go of that sort of addictive high they get from, if you want to phrase it that way, from living in this story, right? Yes. That becomes the reality, and they really have to be committed to getting away from that in order for them to see real long-lasting change. And so did you finish up your programs? Because I want to hear the rest of that, and then I wanted to talk about something else.
Okay, so and that's what you get at the basic level of the program. At the upper levels, you get more one-on-one coaching with me. You get masterminding sessions to help you with your business and your life. And at the highest level, you actually even get into a WhatsApp chat group with me, so you have instant access to me if something's going on. Shiraz, what do I do about this? I'm like, oh, just do this. So there's a lot of values at the 3 different levels.
Okay. And you've been doing this how long?
I have been, the monthly magic program is fairly new, but I've been in the business for 6 years now.
6 years.
Yep.
Okay. And prior to getting into this, you've had some amazing jobs, right? You worked for Japan Camera.
Japan Camera.
Oh, sorry. What wasn't it? Japan Camera? What were you telling me?
Sorry, that's Blacks.
Sorry, Blacks Camera. And actually, you told me that job came to you when you were kind of at your lowest peak, and you were basically high and dry, broke, ready to declare bankruptcy. And within, what was it, 3 days, you had an offer for over $100,000 job?
2 days.
2 days.
2 days. So, and that was the thing. I was at my lowest. I had just paid one credit card off with the other credit card for the last time, and there was no more room left. And I had been stressed because I had not made any money. I had 0 income for 2 years, $80,000 worth of debt. And I'm thinking, that's it. But at that moment, I just said, oh, wait a sec, I'm in all this stress and it's not helping. What if I just let go? What if I go into a place of trust? What if I go into a place that it's going to work out? I have no idea how it's going to work, but it's going to work out. And I just let go of all of that. Mm-hmm. And when I did that, I could feel there was some sort of shift. I was just not happy, but just relieved. And then 2 days later, the offer comes in.
Right. I mention this because, as I said at the top of the segment, so many of us right now are living in fear, in disbelief. We're seeing an enormous amount of anxiety and depression coming to light. It's all over the news. It's all over social media. And, some people get so into that, they don't know how to let go.
Yes.
They don't know how to change their story, and they lose hope and they lose belief. And so I wanted to really ask you, how can you get somebody to turn that light bulb on or off? How can you take them from, this is we're living in a mess and it's never going to change. It's a hopeless situation, to allowing, as you said, opportunity to come into their life and getting really good offers like you had that truly changed their life. How can you do that? And can you give me an example of how you've done that for somebody else?
So there's 2 main things that are going on there. Number 1 is your stories about how life works, which I have to get you to a space to change. But number 2 is something that a lot of people don't realize, and that's other people's stories about how life works.
Right.
And right now, there's a lot of people in a desperation story, a lack story, a struggle story. Mm-hmm. And most people don't realize, but you can buy someone else's story and think it's yours, and then have everything about their story show up in your life when it doesn't need to. Mm-hmm. I actually had one client during COVID that called and said, I'm getting ready to divorce my husband. I've had it with him. And I started talking to her. It turned out the next door neighbors were getting a divorce. She was buying the next door neighbor's wife's story about her husband. And we shifted that. And then she didn't want to divorce her husband again. It was all good. And it's that powerful that you think that that's your belief. Mm. So I teach
that's being influenced by others' opinions, right? And not being able to sort of say, yeah, I accept this, I don't. Like, you having the strength and the courage to really filter. That's what it is.
Yes and no, because you can buy someone's story just by walking by them without even knowing what their story is. And I've seen this happen. Mm-hmm. I actually bought a $40,000 debt from a friend of mine because I was happened to talk to her while she was going through it, and she never even mentioned it. And all of a sudden I get a letter from the CRA saying I owe $40,000 in back taxes. And I was freaking out because this was just after I got the job. I still had the $80,000. Now it's $120,000. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then I realized, wait a second, is this even mine? And when I realized, no, it's not my story, it's someone else's. I didn't even know who it was at the time. I figured it out later. Mm-hmm. Then 10 minutes later, my accountant came up with the solution and the $40,000 just disappeared.
Okay.
Right.
So in that type of thing and that type of thinking, you shared with me another story, which was, an exemplary story of how you helped somebody else shift their mindset. I
Yes.
really want you to share that story about your
Yep.
client,
So,
Andy.
yep.
So tell that story now, please.
And Andy is an amazing example because he has a story. Well, he had a story about being an underdog. And we glamorize underdogs in society.
Yeah.
We have movies about them. Everyone roots for the underdog.
Well, in America too, you know, the American way, which often spills into Canada, is we love that underdog story, right?
Yeah.
We want, you know, from rags to riches. We love that story. That's
Yes.
a story that North Americans, particularly Americans, love.
And it's a wonderful story as long as you're watching it. It's a horrible story when you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so Andy and his wife had a business and they were struggling. And he was always the underdog. And their business was growing and they were looking to expand to a new branch in Toronto. And I was talking to him. We found out about the underdog story. And I said, well, you know, the problem with being an underdog is that you can't actually be successful because then you're not an underdog anymore. You actually become, in the movies, there's always that big person you're up against and you conquer them or you beat them in some way and you take their place as a good person and you're no longer an underdog. So the only way you can stay in that story is to succeed right at the end of your life, right? So it doesn't do a lot for the rest of your life in between. So
True.
when we got him out of that story, their business at the time had 2,000 people in their network. It's a authentic networker is the name of the business, and it's just building huge networks and teaching people how to network properly. So there were 2,000 people there in their program, and they were in Toronto. And very soon after that, they went to 4 countries. They're in 30 different cities. They are now at 27,000 people in the network, and it just blew up because now he's not the underdog anymore.
So it blew up. He's not the underdog anymore, but he also has to go through a shift within himself to not be identifying as the underdog anymore. So, you know, how does that work? I mean, it's one thing to change and shift your mindset and your perspective to accept change, to accept opportunities, to move away from negativity and toxicity. But it's another thing that once you're there, you gotta adjust to your new role. And isn't that actually where a lot of people can slip up and go backwards?
And that's why you have to get that hit from me through the monthly magic program and private coaching so that you stay there. You'll start to slip and go, nope, we'll push it back until that new place becomes the normal reality. And now you're in this better reality. And then from there, you want to do it again. And then from there, you want to do it again until eventually you get to a point that if you're not changing and growing, now you're uncomfortable. You're only comfortable when you're constantly improving. And that's where I like to get to people too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So by your own advice, okay, I have a question for you. Yes. By your own advice, because, you know, we do slip up.
Yep.
And excuses get in the way, right? Yep. They shouldn't, but they do, right? So by your own advice, you've been writing 2 books. Actually, yes. You have 2 published books, right? Yes. One is called Reworking. Give me the name of your book, please.
How to Rewrite Reality.
Oh, yeah. How to Rewrite Reality. Okay. Not only are we giving it, you're actually showing it. That's fine. That's good. How to Rewrite Reality. And then you had this other book that actually you're working on a sequel to. It was like a sci-fi kind of Harry Potter story for use.
Yes.
But you haven't been able to complete the sequel. And you haven't been able to pitch Hollywood to make your book into possibly a TV series, although you have identified that to me as a personal goal. Mm-hmm. So by your own, you know, teachings, your own way of being and all the things that the rhetoric that you believe in, that you teach other people, what's stopping you from living your passions?
From living my passions.
Well, writing's your passion.
There's a couple things. Number one, there are some blocks on me being that visible and how is it going to be received. So that's things I work on. On the flip side, though, there's been other priorities. Like when this business came up, this became one of my passions. So it's not that I gave up on a passion. I've got multiple passions and I'm happy to have multiple passions. And you will be happy to know I did write 5,000 words last night. So
You did?
I
Maybe
did.
that's because you sensed that I was going to ask you that question. That's
and
good.
and that's been happening because as I'm shifting, I'm getting that urge to write and to get these things completed. There was just 3 weeks ago, I went to bed. I could not sleep because the story was on my mind. And 11:30, I got up and I wrote till 4 a.m. because it had to come out. And so I can see in my life, because it's not like for some people, there's a snap and everything shifts and you're on your way. For other people, it's a journey. You'll see the shifts occurring and they're going to shift more and more and more. And then you'll see your reality change. So for my arthritis, that was a boom, done. But for the writing, it's a buildup because I mean, I haven't written the sequel to the fantasy novel, but I did end up writing how to rewrite reality last year, and I wrote that in 8 weeks. So
Wow.
I just pushed that out.
That's pretty impressive. So obviously, you know, like you say, it's in you. You got to get it out. It's a message you're meant to convey to the world. One thing I was going to ask you: how is your arthritis right now?
Right now, pretty much non-existent, but that's not always the case.
Okay, when does it come back?
Whenever I have an issue, it's my body's way of telling me that I have an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's neat though, because now I use it as a warning system that something's out of sync with my life. And as soon as I figure out what the
So it's
problem
kind of
is,
like a roadblock comes up, it
yeah,
goes buried into the subconscious, the inflammation or something with the arthritis flares up, and then you know this is a red flag signal that you've got to deal with this
yeah.
roadblock,
So
right?
yeah, early on in my business, the arthritis came on. And I was like, oh, okay, what's going on? I thought I was done with this. And then I was talking to one of my mentors and he said, oh, you've got a visibility issue and the arthritis keeps you from seeing a lot of people. So that's why it's flaring up. So I cleared that visibility issue, enough so that the arthritis would went away. It wasn't enough so that I started writing the books all the way, but it was enough so that my business expanded and I was not in pain. And so now that's what I do. And then it's amazing because guilt can cause all sorts of issues in your life, whether it's your actions or physical maladies, such as the arthritis. It kicked in a little while ago, and I was wondering what's going on because everything was fine in my life. But what had happened was I was showering, and I shave in the shower because back when I had arthritis, I used to use the hot water to loosen up my body, and it's just a habit I've had. And I thought, I don't need to be doing this. I don't have arthritis anymore. And because I felt guilty about doing it because I enjoyed doing it, the arthritis kicked in so I'd have a valid reason to shave in the shower. And I realized I did that, let it go, and the arthritis went away again.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Very interesting stuff. I want to mention a couple other things because we're getting near the end of the interview here. Mm-hmm. I know you have a book now, an offer on the book. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So the book is going to be on sale. It's normally $20 US. It's going to be on sale for $5.50 from August 26th to August 28th. And that's for the paperback. The ebook's going to be even cheaper than that. So if you're watching this and it's not yet the 28th, grab the book at a discounted rate.
Okay. And if they're watching afterwards, because it may be,
afterwards,
going to honor that or no?
What I've done is I have an event coming up on the second Saturday of September, which, of course, I forget the exact date. It is the 12th of September, and it's a full day course. $350 is what I usually charge for this course.
Okay, hold on. This is your giveaway, right?
This is my giveaway.
Okay, so let me clarify this.
Okay.
He's got the book. He's got a special offer on the book, but my next question was going to be, there's a special giveaway for this audience, and I was going to get you to tell us about that next. So
okay.
I want you to tell us about your giveaway and how we can claim it. Go ahead. This is for the September 12th.
Yes. So on September 12th, I'm holding a full day class, 10 to 6, on aligning your mind, body, and spirit to prosperity. And I usually charge $350 for this class, and I'm giving it away to the viewers of the show for free.
So anyone can attend for free, just clarify.
Yes, absolutely.
September 12th, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Where's the course? Virtually?
Virtually. Everything's virtual now. So,
well, not everything. Some people are going back a little bit into face-to-face patio stuff, but okay, it's virtual, so no reason not to attend. It's safe as can be.
Yep. And these classes, I do these classes the second Saturday of each month, and they're very powerful. People have attended the classes and had major shifts in their lives. So if you would like to align more to prosperity, I encourage you to take the class.
Now, and this is for personal as well as professional advancement, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And where can we go to learn more about you or to work with you to get into having that first breakthrough session that you mentioned? Where can we go to find that?
You can go to energeticmagic.com.
Energeticmagic.com.
Yes.
Okay, now we're going to have below in the description your website, your social media links. There will also be a written word about your giveaway, which we hope the whole audience, takes advantage of. And the books that are going to be discounted, again, if somebody should see this episode after August 28th, because you mentioned August 26th to the 28th, would they still be able to get a discounted rate?
After that, I can't do it because Amazon dictates the terms, and I won't be able to do another discount for at least another month.
Okay, so let's just clarify this again right now, that if you happen to be watching after August 28th, there is not a guarantee on the book part, but the course is the giveaway, and it's normally worth $350, but it will be free and it'll be virtual. So please take advantage of that. And again, we will have all the links below. Anything else you want to add before we close off today?
Just that I really enjoyed the interview. And
thank you.
Thank you again for having me on the show. And I hope that everyone can learn how to rewrite their reality in big ways so that they can have the life that they dream of.
I would just like to add that COVID is not an excuse for not having the life that you want. Really isn't. If anything, it could be awakening you to possibilities or to things that you've always wanted to do, your passions, your joys, your purposes. And maybe that story like you had needs to come out of you, or maybe there's something that you need to be doing now that you weren't were holding back on before, where you're starting to realize that, you're shifting, you're deciding what is most important to you and what isn't anymore. And this would be the perfect time to really come to terms with that and let Shiraz help you. So I want to thank you for watching today. I'm Janette Burke, your host, signing off. Please remember to like, comment, and share our posts with all the fantastic women and smart men in your life. You will find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram TV, Vimeo, YouTube, you name it, we're there. Hashtag Janette's TV. And don't forget about Janette's TV podcast if you prefer to listen than watch. Until next time, continue to be fabulous.